Look, this is a putter review, so as such it's going to be relatively uneventful. It will, however, be an honest evaluation of another brand entering the zero torque revolution. You know, the one that lots said was a pure gimmick and would last 5 minutes. It now seems every man and his dog are pro zero torque. So the latest brand to jump on the bandwagon is TaylorMade, and they've managed to create the hugely popular Spider design into a zero torque monster with the soon to be released Spider 5K ZT. The KBS putter shaft is bored directly toeward near the CG at a 1 degree shaft lean with a 25mm offset behind the face, new and improved sole shaping to work specifically with this unique hosel configuration, and the black pure roll TM insert creates a softer feel. It carries a price tag of £449, which is still lower than the lab efforts but considerably more than the Callaway. The question is, should you shell out the same dollars as a new driver, and is this the putter to answer all your putting problems? Let's start with the looks. In fact, let's start with the head cover design. I'll be honest, quite surprised by my love for the turquoise. Not my colour, but this works visually and more importantly is an absolute pillow fest of cushioning, ensuring your investment is given the care and protection it deserves. Underneath the hood is a bloody fine looking version of a putter we're very accustomed to. It retains the familiar shaping but takes on a unique identity, with a futuristic profile that wouldn't be out of place if golf was to feature in the next Star Wars. Colouring works well, and the separation of the silver face and the black rear really helps concentrate the eye on maintaining a square face at address. Really found this to be super easy to align to the intended target, which is always a bonus. It sits wonderfully well at address, which is something I personally like about centre shafted putters. They seem to have a non-negotiable position when addressing the ball, which takes out any doubts in hand positioning out of the equation. Zero torque equals zero doubt. TaylorMade, you can have that one for the next marketing campaign. The traditional style performs well on tour, and I know this version is with Brian Harman, and I think I seen it with Justin Rose recently, moving from the Axis 1 during last week's Memorial, where he putted very well. Now might be a good time to ask you to follow me on Instagram, as we're making a little more effort on that platform than we did previously. That's at AverageGolfer99. Anyway, as golfers we need that tour validation, and the more and more zero torque putters that find their way into the professionals' bags, the more we will find them acceptable to put in our own. Right, let's keep the initial feedback brief. First noticeable difference to the other putters I've tried is the face insert. Now it is of course the same as on other Spider models, but I've not used one for quite some time, and it's a little bit feisty, fiery in fact, and the controlling of pace is just something that I'm going to have to adapt to a little. So what you've seen so far is literally straight out of the wrapper, head cover off, which is beautiful as I've already mentioned, and just trying it out, just getting a feel for it. And the important message in this video is I'm using a 36-inch putter with this Counterbalance Tour XL grip on, which is very much different as well, but also quite interesting, and we'll talk more about that Counterbalance a bit later on in the video. But the first thing I want to mention is about the setup. The setup, yes, does sort of suggest there is a forward press pre-adopted, if you like, and yes, it's there, but for me what you'll notice is there's 3 putts, maybe 4 putts in and around this this hole, fairly short ones that I like to just hit at the back of the cup fairly firm, and you'll notice a visible attempt for me to press forward. So for me, what I'm finding is if I sit it in its neutral position and I adopt this kind of grip, no messing about, don't try to manipulate whatsoever, I feel like I'm in a slightly hands behind the head situation, or behind the face, and I would much rather feel like I've got a sort of a forward press, and I've got to adopt that and manipulate it. Whilst I prefer not to, once I did, it's when the putter really started to click. Now the one other observation I would have is that this doesn't feel like a zero torque balanced putter. Now that can be a good thing and a bad thing. I don't know which way you're going to sort of look at this. If you want to step into something that is very much similar to what you've been used to, apart from the fact it's centre shafted, then to me that's what this feels like. It just feels like a centre shafted putter. It doesn't feel sort of abnormal, it doesn't feel any different, and that's the way I would sort of describe my first experience of stepping into zero torque putters a few years ago. when I very first picked up a lab. So there's nothing sort of out of the ordinary with this. And like I said, I can't decide if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's very much for you to try and decide. So forward press adopted. Oh wow, oh, you wouldn't be happy with that. Always take the pin out. Fires off it again. Probably the only thing that maybe would have stopped that going in was the fact that it was a little bit pacey, and that's something that, like I said, I would still like to get used to. However, I think for a lot of golfers, that again is going to be something that is very sort of comforting. I don't know if that's the right word. You don't have to put a great deal of effort in terms of length of swing, and you will soon get to grips with this. But yeah, that is my unusual observation. Doesn't feel like it's zero torque. It just feels very much like a standard centre shafted putter. But if it is zero torque, which it is, that's not a doubt by the way, then it is helping us keep that putter face square through impact, and so far the results have been reasonable. I said I'd mention the Counterbalance because I don't know why TaylorMade have sent me this as the club to review, but it's an odd one. Because first of all, 36 inches, not a length I would choose to play. I'm just going to use the putter head cover as our target line. Well, I needed hitting, but basically the line was good. But yeah, the counterbalance bit is a bit of an odd one for me, because almost like what zero torque has always been about for me is just the ability to let the club head do its own thing. So adopt very much a pendulum swing, take your hands out of the equation, and just like I said, concentrate on letting the club head stay square and don't try to manipulate at all. And for me, the counterbalance thing, I assume that's to do with a 36-inch long shaft. I don't know, but it seems a little bit counterintuitive. And I've got to say again, it feels a little bit odd to me, and I would prefer to just grip down the club a little and adopt what I feel is sort of taking that weight out of the equation. But that's a much better stroke, much firmer stroke. And you see again, I do just struggle a little bit with that control out of this face. It is a little bit fiery, something I would have to adapt to, and something I keep on mentioning, so it must be very recognisable to me at least. Well, seeing as we're on the 14th, I think we should finish with a putt that is almost impossible to make. Do not go past the pin on this 2-tier green, because if you land somewhere like this, it's almost impossible. But anyway, my overall assessment of this new effort from TaylorMade, their first sort of effort into zero torque. I'm a massive fan. I love it. I think it's very interesting indeed. Would it be the one that's for me? I'm not so sure. There are elements of it that I would need to get used to, that face insert being one of them. And this 36-inch version again would probably not be my choice. But what I like about it is pretty much what's been stated already. We've got a very much a head shape and profile that we're very familiar with. It sits nice at the dress, even though it needs a little bit of manoeuvrability. And there she goes, her 3 putters in tow, no matter what you've got in your hands. My God, that was a lot quicker than I actually expected. But the bottom line is, it's another putter that is available within the zero torque lineup from another brand. So depending on which way you look at it, this is win-win. There's more choice, more options, there's different price points. So the zero torque market is well and truly opened up, and now you've got another decision to make. And if you're looking for that kind of putter, if you're going to spend this kind of money, then you've got to put this one on your list to try before you make that huge investment. That's me done. Very short and sweet. Thanks to Heswell Golf Club for having me. The greens look exceptional. They've putted so well. And the ZT 5K or 5K ZT, like I said, it didn't do too bad.